Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
And I had to be drunk. I think anyone who went through what we have recently, in order to recover, you had to be drunk. You know what? Maybe we should see if someone out there wants to try to come and defend this installation that I tried so hard and for so long to forget it even existed. And then we started getting things like Discovery and Picard and Lower Decks and Prodigy that make today's movie not look as bad.
But then again, when you get kicked in the nuts, all of a sudden just stubbing your toe on the table seems awfully tempting.
Yeah, there's... Okay. So let's go ahead and let me get something here set up and going first. That way we can actually do this a little more proper. You guys in here are going to see that. And then I'm going to drag it over like that. Actually, no.
It is of importance.
Okay. So what we are going to be talking about today is the 2009 reboot of Star Trek and the intellectual property that is owned by Paramount, Viacom, and CBS. The views contained within are the views of the panel members only and are not indicative of anyone in the company, in the production crew, or anyone directly related to the intellectual property itself. Our criticisms are going to be harsh. There will be snapshots and screenshots shown with the intent of fair use, criticism, and commentary about this entertainment experience that we recently put ourselves through. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it.
I'm still recovering.
Hey, at least you got a proper remedy there to go along with it.
Apple flavored rum, yeah.
And for those who may have forgotten, Star Trek, the 2009 movie, compared to what has been released recently, did one thing right. From the outset, they said, this is going to be a reboot. It is not going to be prime timeline Trek. It is not going to be just another installation of the same old, same old. Pretty sure JJ was even quoted as saying, this isn't going to be your father's Star Trek. Which, you know what? Thank you for not lying to the audience from the outset.
It made a movie so much more watchable.
It gave it a lot more latitude on what they would do. And they actually did some things rather well. I will give them that, but there are other things that, oh boy. Oh boy, did they step in it and not know how to clean off their shoe. But yes, we are talking about the wonderful JJ verse. The produced, directed, partially written by J.J. Abrams himself, but here's something that you guys should be prepared for. Who actually got the writing credits for this one?
Yeah, I know.
Ooh. And look, even in the fucking credits, we're getting lens flares.
They could almost cover up the names, but not quite.
At one point, I actually considered doing a fourth watch through just to see if I could find a scene that did not have any lens flares. Because even earlier today, I went through for the second watch just to get these screenshots, and oh boy. That, just for the screenshots, I had it muted and playing at 1.5 speed. Because I just wanted to get through it. I really did not want to go into the JJ verse as in depth as we're about to. So, Anamorphic Mind? I think that's who it was in the Discord server that asked for it. Yeah. Fucker.
God damn it.
And the worst thing is, there's more movies too.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, about that. Let's go ahead and jump right into the storyline. We're not going to go as deep into the storyline as we have on previous ones, partly because Furball's not here and he's an anal retentive asshole at times, but we still love him anyways.
I would say I do my best, but I don't want to.
There were times we were reading from the script, and sorry, I don't have the script fucking open for a reason.
You don't want to give Karis more sound bites, I take it.
No, not that. It's more the script and storyline was actually very simplistic. We're getting a reboot, a rethink, a re-envisioning of the origin of the original series crew. Which gets us to this here is... technically, that ship right there should not look like that. If you want to be truly pedantic and sticking to the whole thing of, oh, this is just an offshoot of the Prime timeline. No, I'm thinking it's... I'm with a few people in the chat. I'm thinking that this is more related to the Discovery era, which actually makes it an offshoot, which I would actually go further back and say is branched off of both Star Trek Enterprise, which started with the deviation due to First Contact, the movie.
But what if Enterprise kickstarted all of TNG? Because at the end of Enterprise, not to sidetrack too much here, at the end of the Enterprise episode with the Borg, they sent off a signal that would take 200 years to get to Borg space. What if it's that signal that sends them the cube that the Enterprise D encounters from because of Q in that direction? Because it was on a trajectory for Earth. Paradoxes, gotta love them.
yeah, that's the thing. When you get into the temporal mechanics of it, but at the same time, if you go with a little bit of sprinkling of Doctor Who, there are fixed points in time that cannot be changed, and maybe that TNG encounter, in Q Who, that is a fixed point that no matter what, that was going to happen and needed to happen.
By the way, we're calling shots for every lens flare, right, guys?
I don't have that much alcohol at home.
I don't think there's enough alcohol in the world for that. But speaking of getting to the lens flares, I will give them this. When we go to the internal views of this new ship that we see that we at this point don't know the name of, we actually get them to see how they polarize the windows, which actually, you know what? The visual effects, not including the fucking lens flares, but the visual effects aside from that bit, actually pretty damn good in this movie. And they started right away. I'm talking actual visual effects, not some of the prop choices.
I mean, well, looking at the movie, you had so many fucking times where shit was out of focus. Where the thing that was supposed to be in focus was out of focus. When you're zooming in on someone's face, their face is supposed to be clear.
Why would you want that?
I wasn't going into the criticism of the photography of the movie, just the actual special effects.
Couldn't they just special effect a Gaussian filter over it? Or make it sharper?
Again, they could have. I never said that there wasn't areas for improvement on this one. And but there's a reason why I had to pause and get this view. Because you're seeing how much they're messing with the lighting between these two, but also the look of befuddlement on this captain's face is the proper setup for the rest of the entire movie, if not the rest of the entire trilogy that they let JJ have his way with.
The fuck is going on?
Exactly.
No, what this is around the announcement time that JJ was taking over Star Wars. That's the confusion. Like, why the fuck is Disney doing that?
No, that was announced after production on this wrapped.
I know. I was making a joke.
But yeah, I mean, then we get this wonderfully dark, barely lit visage of a mechanical tentacle monster. That's what it look like is coming through this lightning storm in space.
It looks like a one of those head scratcher things.
And the Orgasmatrons?
Pretty much.
Is that what those things are actually called?
Yes.
Wow.
That's literally what they're called.
Wow. Alrighty then. Actually, let me move this out. Nope, that's not what needs to move. That's what needs to move. There we go. That's better.
I shit you not.
Catch it, man. Deluxe or get... Wow.
I do wonder though, looking at this here, and this is something that confused me the entire fucking movie. Was it a black hole or was it a wormhole?
Yes.
Yes.
Alrighty then.
Because it was a gravitational anomaly that really fucked shit up. But where'd the supernova... Yeah, we'll get into that question later, because... So, we have the emergence of Narendra coming in, sees the Kelvin, which is, let's face it, a fucking mosquito compared to it. And they immediately just go, nah, fuck you, we're gonna fire. And yeah, trying to get a clear screenshot through this segment...
Not gonna happen.
I can understand why people watching this on a big enough screen would have been susceptible to motion sickness. Because very rarely at any point in this movie was the camera fucking still.
Well, you get motion sickness from the camera. You're probably going to get tetanus or something from touching those valves.
Yeah. Well, although that is one aspect of the artistic stylings of the sets that I actually give it a little bit of credit for, in that when it comes to the internals of the ship, especially the engineering spaces, they went with places that looked like actual engineering spaces.
That's where I had issues with it, though.
But they shouldn't have gone with pumping stations as it, because there's way too much physical fucking room there.
They could have gone with something like a ventilation shaft or ventilation station. Those are small. You can just slap panels on fucking everything and just cover up everything that's obviously something else. A pumping station...
How else are you supposed to get a wet Scotsman?
To be fair,
Scotsman or Scotswoman or...
Well, I don't know what you're talking about with Simon Pegg. I'm sure he identifies as a man.
Are you sure? Maybe he's not a true Scotsman.
nah.
He's definitely not a true Scotsman.
But even throughout the battle, lens flare,
Yeah.
God damn it, shot.
motion blur with lens flares. And then the captain is trying to give orders throughout all this chaos. And I give this actor credit for actually trying to consistently portray the character given what he had to deal with. Good job.
At least the reflections on his head were sharp.
And I agree with Rodent. Problem with this opening scene, I had zero investment in any of the characters that die. Yeah, it's just a random ship in a random part of the sector comes across this random anomaly. Out comes this massive ship that they have no clue who or what it fucking is. And before any communications happen, yeah, we're just going to blow the shit out of you. And, aw, your shields are worthless against what I have against you.
Yeah.
And then gets to the point where the ship is all but crippled. And it's not even the captain of the ship that's attacking you that is communicating with you, which is a little more realistic.
I have to say, I like this view screen better than the traditional view screen from the shows and the movies.
A little more fitting for the intership communication types of the show and the distortion, but lens flare.
Again, we've agreed there's not enough alcohol for this. I don't even think there's enough Romulan ale for this in the universe.
True. But throughout all this establishing opening scene, setting how different this is, the Romulans demand, they phrase it as a request, but it's a demand that captain comes over to their ship to negotiate a ceasefire.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. And everyone on the bridge is all thinking the same thing. This is a bad idea. This is not going to go well. But the captain agrees and goes along with it. And I will give them also this little bit of thing of, hey, there's a turbo lift shaft. Discovery, don't fuck it up. Oh, wait, you do.
Shit.
where we get some nice establishing shots of the captain on his way to the shuttlecraft to then leave the shuttle bay, which was that top portion. But didn't he come down into this area and then...
Yep.
Huh.
Stop trying to make sense of the engineering.
But the one thing with the way that they've gone about the ships that I will give them a bit of credit for is the ships have like this scene here, this view here, the shuttle bay looks like a more appropriate size for what's in there. It doesn't look as small as the original series ships appeared to be in relation to everything and what they were trying to do with it. They went oversized here in this movie, which makes a little more sense, but in reality, the ship should be about somewhere in the middle. And this is part of the special effects part of it that I give it a little bit of credit for, is as we're following the shuttlecraft leaving and heading over to the Narada, over here, where the ship is damaged, you actually get bits of debris that are hanging out there and are showing more behavior akin to what you would expect in the microgravity environment of space. But then the captain lands, we get a good view of a more haggard Federation ship, which, being on patrol out in the middle of nowhere, it's not always going to look pretty. Good job for a little bit of more realism in the actual presentation on the aesthetics.
Why can't somebody tell the cop about that?
Inside the skin of the ship is far easier to maintain while underway than the actual exterior, especially on a sub.
Oh, that reminds me, I gotta find those files.
But, so their purpose, their actual primary purpose for bringing the captain over there is an interrogation. Hey, let me use my fancy technology that you have no fucking clue about anyways. Have you seen this ship before? And the captain is like trying to piece it together, trying to make sense of why they are doing what they are. And first it starts with the ship, a ship that he's never seen before. And no one will see for another 20-ish years. And then they ask about Ambassador Spock. Now, being a captain in Starfleet, you would know who the Federation ambassador is to certain planets. Him not knowing that should have tipped them off that something ain't right. And his answer of, I don't know who that is, I don't know an Ambassador Spock, was the wrong answer in the eyes of the captain of the Romulans here. And his seemingly pointless bow staffish thing now sprouts blades, and he decides to say, nope, you're dead. And throughout the encounter, back on the ship, they had his biological readouts to know his heart rate, breathing rate, basic health monitoring type stuff, which would make sense in exploratory space, being able to keep track of, hey, if our crewman goes unresponsive, but he's still alive, we can tell. Yeah, I know he brought up the star date, but we're trying to get through this. I'm not trying to spend 3 fucking hours on this 2-hour movie.
If you want to go with star dates, though, looking at Star Trek the way that it's been portrayed before, was there any real sense to star dates before you got into TNG era and the Prime timeline?
They were admittedly randomized.
And because with those star dates, say for example, he just came out from another timeline. The star dates might not actually line up. He doesn't know what the fuck it actually means. He doesn't have a real clue as to what a star date actually is in his time. And that's something that they've just been able to piece together later on.
Yeah, but the fact that when the Narada left, you were 25 something for the star date, and he comes back here and it's 22. The initial thought is, shit, I'm a couple 100 years in the past. The fuck? And this is shortly after... at this point, we don't know where these fuckers came from. Or what has them all in a tiff. But we find out later, and nope, not a lens flare at this moment, but there were still lens flares in this scene.
Sparky, boom, man.
This shows something that I actually had in one of my notes as well. The lights. They have lights set up at working stations that are self-illuminated. The equivalent of taking a light, pointing it at your fucking computer monitor, and then having that shit glare into your eyes all the time. Why?
Because you need lens flare.
A lot of that, yeah, I would have to agree with that. It was entirely because of J.J. Abrams and his enthusiastic member when it comes to certain visual clues.
Yeah, because otherwise, that ain't make no sense.
Oh, there's a lot of this that doesn't make sense. And some of it's coming up here in just a minute. Like, oh, wait, actually, this. Prior to TNG, there were romantic involvements between crew members that was vaguely and only occasionally referenced. Because fraternization is probably not really looked upon when you have a small crew like this.
What do you mean? The Deltans only have to sign a, vow of celibacy. It's not like it was really that frowned upon.
Yeah, about that. We'll get into that one in a different segment, but of all the people to still be on the ship, whether or not she was a member in Starfleet or not, because canonically prior to this, she wasn't. So if we go off of that, she's a civilian. She's a pregnant civilian on a patrol ship. Because she happens to be the wife of the first officer. Not even the wife of the captain.
Well, I mean, the first officer is a Kirk. I mean, he could be fraternizing with people.
If you know what I mean.
Not as blatantly as they make it out later in this movie, though, which is funny when you actually compare it. But At the same time, one thing that they are consistent with that I will, again, this is maybe a 10th of a point credit in your favor. The communications between members throughout the ship. Instead of going to a wall panel, they have their communicators with them. They're not relying on some unforeseen method of communications. They're actually showing you right there. It's essentially like a cell phone today. So, okay, little bit of that. But as they're trying to evacuate the ship, the thought is get everyone evacuated, set the autopilot to ram this thing that we've come across that we don't know who it is that just killed our captain. But oh, would you look at that? Just like every Star Trek story out there, a critical function that you need is unavailable. But it gets worse. Throughout all of this...
God, the eyes.
Oh, but you know what? For a subtle change of someone, for an alien creature, I will give them credit for coming up with random shit like this that they could do that they weren't able to do in the actual original series.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It's a novel concept, but it's just there's again, it's the unnaturalness about it that just I'm like, and I know how they did it. God damn it! Where's my sound effect?
That's also called After Effects.
But at the same time, it's just they could have done better with it.
Yes.
I wonder though, when she's wearing shades and shit like that, does she often have to say my eyes are up here?
All depends on the eyewear she's wearing. But as the evacuation is happening, the Narada is firing at anything and everything they can. We even get a nice shot here of lens flare of a warhead going after the shuttle that has the future Kirk in tow. And this is where this thing comes in handy. So he tried to set the autopilot so he could go join her. And it said, autopilot malfunction. The autopilot is unavailable. If the autopilot's unavailable, how can you set a course and have the computer maintain it? Isn't that kind of the definition of the autopilot? You set a course and the ship follows it without you having to manually do it?
Just before I was getting out of the Navy, they were talking about using the plot table to fix ship's position with, gets the information from the ship of where you are, but you could still manually adjust it and fix it. So I wonder if it's something like that where he's using the control panel just to kind of alter it when it starts to drift a little too much.
I'm going to say that this is actually more like, the warning signals you have on modern cars where you have proximity sensors, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is essentially just a tube showing, okay, is this something right ahead of us? Yes, no. Oh shit, there actually is something. This is going to be a collision course in that case. You might want to, veer away.
Well, here's the thing with that comparison. Having the course set is one thing. Engaging the course, you are going along that path. There is that already established terminology difference between setting a course, which would be like that, would just be, I want to go here. Okay, computer calculates it. This is how you need to go to do what you want. But then when you engage that course, you are actively following that course. And before it goes goes off the screen. Anamorphic Mind for $10 US. Since I am to blame for this lovely episode, here's some money for your trouble. Thank you, thank you. And
Doesn't arrive till Tuesday.
Actually, if I'm right, they usually pay it on the 25th, right?
yeah.
So it wouldn't be surprising if it doesn't show up till Tuesday.
But I guess I would see it as a plot hole. This is why I'm critical of it, because you can set a course through the nav computer, but actively following the course is your helm control, and if it's not the helmsman actually doing it, guess what it would be? The computer, which would be the autopilot. So why the fuck, when this is happening and the ship is actually crashing into the Narada, good old George is sitting in the captain's chair and not at the helm?
Against the captain's chair does have controls for the helm in it.
Not established at this point.
I have another issue with this, though. When he collides with the miner ship, he flies forward.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that the initial or the inertia dampeners aren't working now? Just at that very fucking moment, when every time otherwise in the show, they can be flowing about back and forth, and all you get is a little bit of shaking.
Well, and that's the thing, is the inertial dampeners may have been failing, which is why he got thrown from the chair. But then at this point, they're going to be completely failed.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's one of those they're not there to work anymore.
But this is just something where we've seen so many times in the different shows. The ships can be almost completely obliterated. Yet somehow, when they get hit with the force to make them just fly away at a quite respectable velocity.
Let me describe the plot holes for you.
This is some deep hole that I'm not getting out again.
That's pretty much it. This entire fucking movie. It looks good, but it makes no fucking sense.
A lot of it doesn't.
Again, actually, going back to that, didn't we talk in an early episode about how essentially if this were to work the way it's supposed to work, there would be a lot of ships out in space just painted red?
With how often the inertial dampeners fail, yes, there would be a lot of liquefied bodies inside of spaceships all over the universe. It's almost like the human body has a tolerance before things start to go wrong, and it's only a factor of 10.
So you mean if you have a vector change going from, say, 0 kilometers or 0 relative kilometers an hour to Mach 5?
Yeah, that's
in a split second?
Yeah, that sudden change will really ruin your day.
I mean, they could cremate you, but
Yeah,
they'd need
true.
they'd need a flamethrower afterwards just to get everything.
So, Rodent No Last Name says, I bear no responsibility to this episode, but have monies anyway.
That's
And-
Monet's.
D-Monet?
Monet's.
Davro says, did you watch Star Trek V? Dude, there's so much wrong in that one, and I called it out then too. And you think this doesn't make sense? Yes. There's a lot in all Star Trek that doesn't make sense. The Undiscovered Country was a mindfuck. Are you confusing Final Frontier with Undiscovered Country?
Yes. Yes, he is.
Because Star Trek 6 actually was one of the better ones. It was definitely top 3. I arguably say top 1, but other people have a thing for Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. First Contact's a good one too.
But, so, one thing I did not get a screen cap before early on in the initial barrage that came through that I would give them a little bit of, again, fraction of a point credit for, where one crew member is actually jettisoned out a hull breach, and as the camera's perspective crosses that threshold outside of the skin of the ship, it goes silent. Because remember, no one can hear you scream in space.
Permission to ban Davros for that order. Yeah.
No. You know what? We could make that the discussion in a couple weeks.
You just want to put the Into Darkness? Is that what you're saying?
Shh. But so back to the point that I was making. So we have that scene where, hey, you're out into the void of space where sound cannot propagate, and it goes silent. Then we get this, where they're looking from that medical shuttle back at the Narada as the Kelvin destroys itself, thinking that it would have some sort of effect by ramming into it. And we get the pops of the explosions that are seen. And you can't blame that on communication systems, because all you would get at that point is static. Holy crap, we are 45 minutes in and we're still in the opening fucking sequence.
It's gonna get worse, though.
And then, yeah, okay, about that. So, ridiculous scene number 2. A little pissant kid stealing a Corvette that would be 3.5 centuries old now.
And Nokia. Also, Jared. The other super chat.
Another 5 from Rodent. I like to call the JJ Verse films as big budget, bad fan fiction. It's like he gets it, but doesn't get it. He gets some of it, but gets so much wrong. Welcome to current Star Trek and Star Wars. Oh, and I was getting to that, Davros. Not only is this child driving a late 60s Corvette, it's a manual. So you're telling me this kid already knows how to manage the clutch and gearbox? But product placement of all the communication companies, of course, the one to survive would be the ones who have built the most robust cell phones you will ever come across.
Sounds Swedish.
Finnish.
Oh, but according to the Transformers, they're Korean, wasn't it?
Yeah, but no.
All right, I'll be right back.
Oh, but see, here's part of it. It's not whether or not he would be able to learn the fundamentals of it to do it. It's also reaching the fucking pedals. But
Yeah,
then
he can barely reach over the fucking steering wheel.
and then to climb up, and you see him have to lift himself out of the seat to hit the latches to release the ragtop as he's going 60, 70 miles an hour down the road. And these are the cops.
This is actually one of my points as well here with law enforcement and the way that law enforcement is being portrayed, especially when it comes to this shit right here. It's... I don't quite see what he was trying to go for there. I don't understand what the reason behind these types of cops were.
It's the future. I really think that's all it is. It's the future. The cops have to look futuristic.
But it isn't Blade Runner. It's Star Trek.
You do know that a lot of people who can separate the franchises refer to the production company that was responsible for this as Bad Reboot.
You have a point, which is... It's sad.
Oh, and then what about this bit? He veers away from the cop, goes towards a cliff, and
Just jumps.
And not only just jumps, somehow manages on a dirt fucking covered cliff to be able to get enough traction and dig in his hands enough to grab onto the edge and not fall down the edge along with the car.
But this must be something that they're trying to set up like poor fucking Chekhov's gun.
What it is they're trying to set up a pattern of behavior, a personality difference to justify actions of the character later on.
I mean, how many times do you have him hanging off something in this movie?
Too many?
3? 4? Is that enough?
I might be able to tolerate it at 3, but this one does go beyond that. And just the initial bit, like, I understand if you shut off your brain and watch this and have never watched Star Trek before, it's flashy, it's bright, it's got explosions, it has a lot of action in the first 20-30 minutes of this movie. Which, that's the thing. Even at the pace we're going, we're following the movie's pacing. Which
is kind of sad.
Yeah, it really is. That's another thing. The pacing of this movie is all over the place. But you get that where they're trying to set things up as this is different than what they were like before. And I get that. But why would this character here need to be decked out like this? Other than, it's the future. Why not?
Reasons?
I don't know. Or just to make him look more anonymous, just one of those faces that you can't identify when it comes to the police.
Or is it supposed to be an android?
I would be more okay, though, if they made this out to be an utter alien. As in, completely alien, just humanoid.
Similar to the brain? Okay, I could go with that. But again,
so the reason for the mask, etc., is for them to actually be able to function. Not so much that it's something that's, okay, you're a cop, here you have a mask, etc., etc. It's, okay, you can't, or we can't properly breathe our atmosphere, therefore you need the filters, you need the Vox caster, essentially, and you need something to help you with the different waves of ultraviolet light that we have here that you can't process properly.
Really? Audio's dying?
It might just be mine. I
Ah,
was having issues with that earlier too.
look good on my end. I'm actually going.
Yeah, sounds good on my end.
Then again, he is down under there, so that could be it. All right. But then, after this wonderful introduction to prepubescent angst Kirk, we now go to lens flare planet number 2. Which
Vulcan.
Vulcan lives. Stomp, stomp.
Dun, dun.
I will give this edition a little bit of credit of a way that an advanced species might go about educating their children, especially if they claim to be entirely logical and not emotional at all, but they're still bullying and other bullshit. This is actually pretty nifty the way it was set up, but then, oh, just like every kid who's different, you gotta be bullied for those differences.
Which, with those kinds of insults and everything that they use there, or even just the bullying in and of itself, I do not understand. I don't understand the contradictions in Vulcan society when you see these things going on here.
Wow.
Well,
Again,
it's because they're speciest.
wait a minute, hang on. I have an in-universe explanation for this. Remember all the hypocrisy and problems with Vulcan society and Vulcan behavior that was established in Enterprise?
Yeah. There's a lot of it.
Kind of follows then that this would be a later offshoot of that same universe. To where Vulcans aren't the actual paragons that they try to portray themselves as.
Which, one thing here, and I don't know if this is just because it's Spock, which I'm going to guess it isn't, but they're using human symbols. When trying to teach him, they use human symbols and letters.
Universal
Some
translator
fucking-
for the audience.
Except there's Vulcan symbols as well,
Yeah, it's both.
which makes no fucking sense. That's like me going to school and they're trying to teach me some shit in Chinese.
Yeah, it's...
It doesn't make sense.
Well, hang on. That's the kind of thing that'll make you go all... Ree!
No, you mean...
No, that's when they go down into the pit and he starts doing that. Just starts beating the ever-loving piss out of the kid, which...
Save me, Jeevan!
I could actually give them a bit of a good job for this bit, though, because it has often been said that it's not that Vulcans are emotionless. It's that their emotions run so deep and are so strong that they had to go towards logic to control themselves. Now throw that kind of origin with the impulsive nature that every other species views humanity as having.
This is the way.
This is the way.
The
This is the way.
behavior fits then. You can kind of expect a young, tormented Spock to just start wailing on a fucking jackass because of it. But then the talk with the father that followed.
This, well, looking at this is the third fucking point on the list out of, let's see here, many that I wrote down.
So what you got?
Yeah, you have Sarek here trying to talk to his son. And I can understand Sarek trying to bring it more and more into being, or trying to foster the whole, you are a Vulcan, you are a, you have these parts of it. And then trying to show Spock that, okay, yeah, I am doing this, I did this, etc., etc. And trying to be a role model for Spock. But at the same time, Sarek isn't fucking stupid. He must have known at this point in time too that doing this to Spock and saying the things he said to Spock there would just torment him more.
But my logic.
Yeah, it's...
Vulcans are the logic as Klingons are the honor. It's all well and good to be, honorable and stuff like that. And then you go cloak and just shoot some ship down when the shields aren't up, because that's an honorable battle.
Oh, it's always honorable when you win.
Something, something, victor, something, something, right history.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Are you having fun trying to adjust this?
No, it just... Shut up, you. There we go. And then, magically, with no indication of time frame yet again on the time jump, we finally get to meet the woman who caused the ambassador to be a traitor. Okay.
The Earth whore.
What name is she going by this time? And did she leave the beaver at home?
I believe she did, but I don't know for certain. Let's see.
Or was this after she got caught shoplifting?
I think this was after the shoplifting, but
It was a nice beaver, though. She had the stuff just last week.
Wow. But we actually do get... I will give them credit for this. They actually do show Amanda being nurturing towards Spock in this moment. Like a typical human mother should be to their child. Okay. But then, why are we doing Dutch angles now?
Because otherwise you would be able to see more of the scene and realize it looked like shit.
And why does this meeting hall at the Ministry of Science look like a Gothic age cathedral? And not high Gothic, not even the good Gothic. Because, sorry, the Emps would not want anything to do with these fuckers. And the pretentiousness that just oozes out of everyone in this scene. Despite your disabilities, You have done enough to be granted entry into the Vulcan Science Academy.
Yes, Dr. Graves.
Wait, what disabilities? Well, your human mother. Yeah. Take someone who has been getting picked on for over a decade, easily, in school, about his mother, and then in your acceptance of this guy's application to join the most prestigious school on the fucking planet, you say, oh, you did great despite your disadvantage. Excuse me? What disadvantage? Oh, you know that thing that people have been teasing you about your entire life that is a huge sore point for you in this? Because you're a little punk-ass bitch mama's boy? Yeah, your mother's the problem. Well, you know what then? Fuck you. I'm not going here. Wait. No Vulcan has ever rejected admittance. Well, seeing as how I'm not entirely Vulcan, your record is spotless. Jackass.
I need to get you that soundbite.
Leon, do you have anything to say about the retardation of this scene before we move on?
Actually, yes. This very much mirrors Worf. If you look at Spock throughout a lot of this movie, it mirrors how Worf is essentially not as Klingon as he would want to be. And from that, he tries to over-Klingon it. With Spock here, he isn't seen as the Vulcan that he sees himself as. So he decides to just overdo it with the logic, with trying to be more and more formal, with trying to be Vulcan, essentially.
Fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I will say this, the first time I saw this, the attitude that they have coming from Spock was different. And I was accepting of. But having watched it again a few more times, I'm more annoyed by it now. And then we get snapshot back to Iowa and the bar, and one of the better prosthetic jobs in the entire movie. Oh, wait, sorry, that's where he's looking. We get the bar scene where an inebriated Kirk hits on Uhura.
This is something, though, where I put this down as a point about socialization, just due to the way that they are doing things right here. Sure, you have the locals, you don't just have the Starfleet personnel in here, I think. But it's something we can see a lot more about the different ways that they interact with one another at this point in time. And I find it interesting how, despite the whole, oh yeah, we've come so much further, we've surpassed our ancestors when it comes to all this. And it's very much just like any kind of fucking bar today.
It really is, especially seeing as how they refer to Kirk as just another townie. And up in this area, referring to someone as a townie, you are calling that person an idiotic, drunken lowlife that never left their hometown. Ever.
Bless their little hearts.
Same thing can be said here in the western side of the country, too.
But throughout all of this, Kirk still had the bravado to stand up to the white knights that decided to show up, going so far as to even call this one Cupcake.
Just remember, it's 4 against 1, and he tells them to get more people because then it'll be a fair fight.
And then he proceeds to get the ever-loving piss kicked out of him.
After they got a couple more guys to help fight.
I don't know if more guys...
I counted 6 when I watched it.
But how many were actually engaged in the fight?
Him and 6 others.
One at a time, mostly.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was
One
able
could
to
almost say
fend
they
off
ran a
most of
train
them.
on him.
A super train?
Maybe.
Oh, god damn you guys.
You left the door open for that one, just like the Admiral did here.
Yeah. Oh, he's not an admiral yet, though. He's still
Commodore.
Captain. This is Captain Pike, who decides to kick everyone out of the bar, and while the bar is cleaning up, try to do a roundabout motivational speech in a challenging way to Kirk, who is looking rather fitting for the situation he had just put himself in.
This is something, though, where he's still bleeding at this point. Why haven't they taken him to the medic? Or any type of doctor?
Aesthetics.
Because you don't meet the doctor till the next scene. Or is it the scene after that?
Scene after. So, throughout this, I will give another nice little nod of the salt shaker looking like the ship.
Kelvin.
The bane of his existence to this point. The ship and the situation that he has been fighting as essentially a shadow boxer and losing for his entire life so far. But now he decides to change it around. Now he decides to actually see what he can do and see what he's actually made of. Which led me to one of my larger issues and questions with this movie. Why the fuck are they constructing that on a planet surface?
I'm pretty sure that was also one of the points here. Starship building. Also, something else, and I don't know if you noticed it there. Smog. A fuck ton of smog everywhere.
Yeah, the haze. Which, at first, it seems like it could just be because of the time of day, but then when you go to this view and realize that, no, it's from the processes and the work that they're doing. But it had already been established that the Enterprise was not built on Earth. It was built in orbit. Because a ship like that... Hey, we're not only just changing the visuals, we're changing every goddamn thing you ever thought you knew about this franchise. Don't you love us? Aren't we inventive? Aren't we creative?
I believe the term is, hold on. Where did that one go?
Bullshit.
Yeah. And for those who are wondering, it whether or not it's an actual ship that's supposed to go into orbit that they're building. Yeah. Yeah. It's an actual shipyard that this random civilian can just ride his motorcycle up into.
He is a townie.
Park randomly where he wants, give his keys to that guy right there, and just say, oh, you like it? Here, it's yours.
You know, he could be one of those shipyard workers that decided to enlist after realizing how shitty a job shipyard workers have it when they're new. Not realizing that if they stick around and become like a rigger or something, they can get paid a crap ton of money.
Yeah. But so the previous conversation between Kirk and Pike laid out, you go to the academy, you get commissioned in 4 years, you could be a captain in 8. And then Kirk was like, 4 years? I'll do it in 3. Pretty sure that's not how it works.
Isn't this guy, though, the guy that he gives the keys to, Electrician Frank Sinatra, or what's his name is, in Down Periscope?
No.
Who the fuck is he?
Oh, you're thinking of the guy who played Sonar.
Yeah, the guy in Down Periscope, the one that tries to touch all the knobs and pieces.
Oh, you're thinking of Nitro.
Yeah, it's not Nitro. Nitro is not that tall.
Is that Nitro? Gonna have to. No, that's not him. Jesus fucking Christ.
The credit is
Harlan Williams.
the shipyard worker that they classify as a shipyard worker credited is Robert Clendenin.
Yeah, he's been background bit player in a bunch of things, but not Down Periscope.
Harlan Williams?
No. This guy on screen here is not the guy from Down Periscope.
Yeah, because he just looked like that to me.
It happens. What the... I said, shut up, you. Damn technology.
This is something, though, where in the original series, they already said, yeah, we've gotten rid of everything when it comes to wealth and all that, didn't they?
The pursuit of wealth. You'd still have private property, so like the thing with the car, you would still have that bit going on. You would still have ownership. I mean, even in the original run of the movies, Kirk was an avid history guy and an avid collector. That they actually kind of not shaming him, but Bones did effectively call his apartment in San Francisco a museum, in saying that and comparing him to one of the relics that are going to be in there, that's in there, as a way to kind of like wake him up and let him realize that, no, your life's nowhere near over yet, kind of thing.
Now, if only you weren't allergic to retinox, I could actually treat your eye condition.
Yep. But then, speaking of that, we're finally introduced to Bones in his surly, drunken glory. Which, this casting in this portrayal of Bones, I like it. I think he actually fit the role and actually portrayed Bones in a way that didn't completely shit on the original while also sticking true to the setting that they're in, where there were subtle changes, there were some deviations, there was changes to how some of the characters are, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, he's more surly than DeForest Kelly's Bones, which is hard to believe. but it comes off in a way that's meant to be that crusty old uncle or father figure that is there to help you along as best he can.
Agreed. And wrote no last name for 5 US. For this film, I will defend the actors. The only good, decent thing in the movie, they were just given a crap script and mediocre director. I'm there with you on that. For what
How
they
many
were
movies
given,
can we talk about that?
oh god, especially in the last 15 years. The quality of the writing and directing has gone downhill. And there are times where you can tell an actor's just mailing it in and you can appropriately give them crap for it. But the actors in this movie, they did the best that they could with what they were given. And you know what? People might disagree with me for this one. I do not blame Hayden Christensen for his portrayal of Anakin.
Nope.
I blame
he
Lucas.
just did what he was He just did what he was told.
Yeah, I blame Lucas. Blame the director. Blame the writer. Blame the person telling the actor, no, this is the way the character is supposed to be.
But who needs a good script when you have lens flares?
Speaking of lens flares, we get more of them as the cadet transport ship that is meeting inside of a middle of a fucking active shipyard, building a ship that, by all accounts, should have actually been built in orbit or out towards Mars.
Jared.
This is some deep hole that I'm not getting out of.
Remember, this is the plot we're talking about.
True. Oh, wait, we finally get an actual increment of how much time we're jumping now. 3 years later. And, hey, look, we're getting more special effects, and we're getting that funky ship where now the Spock that they are looking for is back. But then we quickly jump back to Starfleet Academy because, well, Kirk has to look at and dry hump with his eyes every female of every species that walks by him. As he's telling Bones, I'm taking the test again, I want you there. Wait a minute. Nobody does the Kobayashi Maru more than once, let alone twice. And you're going for a third time? Third time's a charm. Which, odd thing to get accurate with the rest of established canon and history. But
it's the Kobayashi Maru. It has to be accurate.
Yeah.
I think if they tried to tweak that part of it, the core Trek fans probably would have lost their fucking minds.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have probably let it slide, but I'm.
But then, it's product of the times. Kirk's version of studying.
He's studying the Orions. Come on.
She's not established as an Orion.
I'm just giving her credit for that.
But it could be. Aingala was rather fetching. Can't blame him.
Plus, she's a ginger. We all know they're the best.
I still think that she's an Orion, though. With everything...
Go for it.
No, but with everything else going on here, I still think that she's actually an Orion. Which brings into question, what do they actually do with the Orions? What actually happens with the Orions? How do they do shit when they try to get in every other or into every other place? Because as we all know, Starfleet had a bit of an issue with the Orions before and realized that, oh shit, it's actually the women running the show here. This is something that maybe we should take into consideration.
Yeah, I think they went with this simply because of ease of doing the green body paint.
Well, according to Memory Alpha, and this isn't official canon, but they say that she is an Orion female cadet.
Let's get back onto the right window. And then we get the wonderful interaction with, guess who her roommate is?
Dun, dun, dun.
Wasn't
Uhura.
telegraphed a mile away.
Yeah. And throughout this, Uhura is going off about this intercept that she did and translated while still being a cadet at the academy that just happens to be leaking to her roommate, and then realizes there's a third person in the room, and oh, look who it is. Plot conveniences. Gotta love them.
It's him. Again.
And then they cut to the Kobayashi Maru itself. And even throughout this, the observers even say, is he taking this seriously? And sorry, if you're trying to cheat on a test that has this sort of level of oversight, aren't you going to play it a little bit more accurately so it doesn't come off as blatant as we've seen to this point? And the subroutine kicks in, allowing Kirk to give the commands to defeat the Klingons and rescue the crew of the stricken ship, aptly named the Kobayashi Maru. And
Apart from...
go for it.
No, but apart from them wearing microfiber cloth hair, though, there is one thing that seeing this scene actually got to me. You know how we've been talking before about essentially the Federation brainwashing everyone going into Starfleet? I think the Kobayashi Maru is actually part of that too. In that, okay, you have an obviously dangerous situation. Well, you're going to die anyway, so why be scared?
Yeah, it's bigger than just you. But after that, we find out, well, who's been programming the Kobayashi Maru? Spock. Who in 3 years, or slightly more, because we don't know when the fuck he told the Vulcan Science Academy to piss off, is now a commander that has a role in one of the major training evolutions given to command cadets at Starfleet Academy. And as a result, we then go to a massive hearing in a huge lecture hall where they decide to confront Kirk about his cheating in front of the entire class and staff, because we totally reprimand in public and praise in private, right? That's how good leadership is supposed to be done.
It still kind of brings up the question, though. Was it really cheating?
I would actually say yes, because he did add in to the programming of the test with the sole intent of making it possible to rescue the ship.
Which is something, isn't that really what they want Starfleet officers to be able to do? When it comes to, you're supposed to actually be able to think outside of the box. With the, what was it, the captain's training, bridge training, commander training?
The commander, Troy, the commander's training. You want to be able to make the hard decisions.
Yeah, it's not so much that you think outside the box. It's, are you willing to are you willing to condemn people to death?
Yeah, but this is something where you have two stages of this. You have the Kobayashi Maru, which is essentially you're fucked any way you try to do this. When you get into this, you're fucked. No matter what you're trying to do, you're fucked. That's something, okay, sure, you can try to just see it as, oh yeah, but sometimes it's inevitable, sometimes you're going to die. But then you have the commander training, which is a separate part, which, oh yeah, to save the ship, you have to sacrifice someone. You can't do it without sacrificing someone. But in the first instance, you've already sacrificed everyone on the ship, either your own or theirs.
Well, keep in mind that the commander's training, the commander's qualification, was for your non-command subgroups. So that's why people like Troy, Crusher, why people outside of the actual command pipeline would go through that. You wouldn't put someone who's in the command pipeline through that to get to the grade of commander, because they've already gone through the training from day one with the Kobayashi Maru and that pipeline of training that they've been going through for their entire career to that point. They already are understood to be able to make those hard decisions, to be able to come up with the sacrifice when necessary. That's why that one test is so crucial in the commander's test for someone to do effectively what is an officer of the deck watch aboard a current U.S. Navy ship, where you are in charge in lieu of the captain. And you don't have to be a line officer. You don't have to be a command pathway officer to stand that watch, but you need to have certain qualifications. And that test would be the qualification to stand that watch. And yes, Rodin also points out that the Kobayashi Maru, as even stated in this interchange, it is supposed to be a test of character. Can you compose yourself when you're facing the ultimate sacrifice and keep your crew under control when death is certain? Can you handle that sort of situation? That's what the actual Kobayashi Maru was communicated as being about. And this is where it gets interesting with these two jarring back and forth about it, because Spock plays the card of, you of all people should know that, Cadet Kirk, because of what your father did. And that did not land the way that Spock thought it would, or hoped that it would. It inflamed things even more. But then all of this is interrupted with a notification being sent to the Admiral heading the inquiry. Which, why the fuck is everyone still there? Just repeating that same point. Where there is a crisis on Vulcan. And as of now, because the fleet is too far away, every cadet in the room, except for Kirk, is to report to the shuttle bay for assignment and immediate activation. Which would happen. In a crisis, they would certainly fast track people to fill the positions on the ship, to get things moving, to go address what was going on. But highlight of the movie, in my opinion, and this is why I say they really nailed this one. Kirk and Bones talking about Spock, and Bones correctly going, oh, well, he's this kind of person. I like him. I'll be right back. I gotta see what the dog is yelling about.
It doesn't know who let it out.
Nope, he doesn't. I'm trying to decide what to have for dinner.
Korean?
Not a really good Korean place here, and I'm not big into Asian food myself.
No, I'm just thinking dogs and everything.
I know what you were getting at.
It's
There's
just
actually-
we don't
there's a
have herbal here.
There's a section of the town I live in that has a high population of Koreans, and people's pets tend to go missing in that area. Specifically, the four-legged kind, like a wolf.
Are you talking about barbecue again?
A certain type of barbecue.
Well, so, I mean, do you guys have anything to say about this segment before we try to go faster than the plot of this movie?
I just have to say
don't think so.
that Uhura is the biggest Karen of them all in this movie.
Oh!
You finally got what I was trying to go with there. Huh?
You know, I was like, wait a minute. And yeah. That is what I got out of this entire... Well, there are two things that come out of this scene in the shuttle bay at Starfleet Academy. The first being this. Which, hey, Leon, look, I got the lens flare.
Yeah.
You know he was going through frame by frame until he got the right amount of lens flare for each one, right?
Oh no. These were entirely random. But no, Leon and I had I think let's go ahead and
Spot the issues. All of them.
let's just go on the big one. And this is just, to me, this just screams laziness, because you want to know how they made this forklift more futuristic? Does anyone want to take a guess what the only thing that they did to it was?
They sprayed out the
It's
actual
also
name
called After Effects.
and put the fucking Starfleet insignia on.
Yeah, that's it. Just that there.
They didn't even spray out the company name.
No.
They didn't put anything else on it. That's not even the worst fucking thing. They have a lot of people running around there, all over the fucking place. And he's moving the load with the fucking forks lifted. He's having that in, I would say, had I been around there, head height, with people running around.
Yep.
And not only that, he is turning as well as just going, well, side to side. Obviously, in Starfleet, there's no fucking safety precautions at all when it comes to shifting loads. Which is probably why fucking Commander Wolf had his fucking back broken later on too.
Oh, Google moderator team. They have these wonderful things called gravity lifts that they used in TNG and showed on screen and in Deep Space Nine, where instead of using a forklift, it would essentially be a beefed up pallet jack that just hovered.
Even then, you can slap some metal sheets on there, just painted the same fucking color as the space shuttles. And it's fine. But when your levels of lazy is, okay, we're just going to erase the product name, slap on the Star Trek logo, still keep the fucking Atrax logo of the company that makes them.
Oh, no one will notice. No one will notice. Why would anyone notice that?
And then have fucking Chad drive the forklift.
I will say this though, he is. At least in the bit we saw, he didn't kill anyone.
In the bit we saw.
Yeah. But going into the real standout of this, someone is not happy that she did not get her desired assignment. So what do you do when you don't get your desired assignment in this sort of organization?
Go to Karen level 4.
Oh, right. You track down this the person who could affect the change and pester the ever-living fuck out of him until he abides by your request.
Wow.
Oh, wait. Oh, no. I'll leave the foreshadowing for later.
Yeah, not spoiling anything, but she's got sharp teeth.
And, by the way, lens flare. Lens flares. Lens flares.
Also, isn't that if you go to the panel, or if you go to where Spock is looking at the panel there, isn't that a CNC console?
Possibly.
Because you have the jog there at least, and some input.
Yeah, it's redress of modern technology to make it look suitable for this. Which
I thought it was Farm Simulator 2006.
No, that's where the fork truck came from.
Oh, okay.
But yes, so Uhura's not happy. She doesn't outright berate her superior officer to get her way, but she pulls a chihuahua to get her way. And yes, it seems like you are. And throughout all of this, as that's going on, McCoy is doing arguably one of the more intelligent things given the situation. Well, he's not going to leave Kirk just there moping like a lost puppy. So he decides, I'm going to give you this vaccine. Why are you giving me that vaccine? To give you the symptoms. Why? Because he's going to pull the medical card and be like, no. I'm his doctor. He's under my care. I'm going to this ship. So he's got to go with me.
Yeah, but he's not authorized.
Except the medical code, that's the card that he plays. He plays the ultimate sea lawyer card. It's like, you want to play the regulation game. Okay, well, yeah. Yeah, by that segment of that regulation, you are correct. However, I'm a medical officer. I need to take care of this guy. So I'm staying here to take care of this patient, or the patient's coming with me. Because of this segment of the medical side of things, which, sorry,
It proceeds.
who's the only person who can tell a commanding officer, no, child, go back to bed? Oh, right, that's the medical staff.
Now, does the captain actually listen? That's the better question.
If they know better, they do. And I love the guy who's trying to be the gatekeeper is like, okay, well, as you were. McCoy, as you were. And
Smart.
this one I would chop up to mist. I would chop this up to environmentals that are not industrial. Because it is the Bay Area of California, which the Bay Area there and Seattle tend to be overcast a lot.
Except for lately, now we're just on fire.
Well, it's that time of year.
Oh, would you look at that? It's 5 o'clock.
Pretty much.
Rodent no last name for $2 US. Put some doodads on a regular thing? It's the future!
Be honest, though, the main thing that you can tell that you're in the future with many things is the fucking color scheme. as in reality.
Yeah.
Because you can have something that's 50 years old and the equivalent of it today. In many cases, the main thing being changed is, well, apart from the design exterior there, the fucking color scheme.
Yeah, well, speaking of color schemes, I mean, you want a lens flare? I'll give you a lens flare.
Would you?
It's a gorgeous ship, though.
One of the things that I do not hate about this movie is how they handled the ships. They actually upscaled the size of the Enterprise to make sense for the ship that it's actually supposed to be. Granted, I don't like some of the aesthetic choices, like the bottom line of the secondary hull, the pylons holding up the nacelles. The ratios are slightly off there, but the way they upscaled the size, it works for me. And yes, we finally get confirmation that the ship that we've been hinted at all along is the Enterprise. And here's another shot of what feeds into that upscaling thing, where this actually looks like a usable shuttle bay now compared to what we saw in the original series and other iterations of the Constitution class ship.
And lens flares.
Yeah. And then you get views of how cavernous they want to make it look. And if I remember right, this was done at some sort of refinery. And sorry, even though the ship is that large, you're not going to have a space that fucking big inside of it unless...
TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside.
Yeah. I was going to say, unless it was built on Gallifrey.
Someone mentioned that was shot in a brewery earlier.
Some parts
Or
of...
something I saw.
Some of them were. Oh, god damn it. This movie's pissing me off to the point I'm getting a nosebleed.
A nosebleed. You're feeling the effects from the thing earlier.
Nah, it's actually more weather related. There we go. Alright, and then we get another wonderful misapplication of how long it would take to get from this shuttle bay and arrival point up to the bridge. Because according to this, it took a whopping 3 seconds in the turbo lift.
Well, remember, the turbo lift is not just one directional up and down. It's 3-dimensional.
And it goes at the speed of plot.
Again,
This is some deep hole that I'm not getting out again.
yes, S2000 GT, yes.
Nice. And then we go around and we see that, oh, we're starting with Pike as the captain. So we're just going to ignore that Robert April was ever a person?
Not in this timeline.
Oh, wait. A lot of casuals don't know who that is. But then we get the ships detaching from the station, getting ready to go to warp to Vulcan to address the situation, and they're not going anywhere.
He left the parking brake on.
Lens flare. And more lens. As he removes the external inertial dampeners. And then they go.
I love the throttle. I love the throttle control in this movie.
I do. That choice, that stylistic touch was nice.
It makes me think of Galaxy Quest, though.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. But when something is a proper fucking parody of what you're supposed to have come from, and you then try to take stuff from the parody and make it into the real thing.
Yeah, that I know. I see that as the problem too.
Also,
But
before we
Galaxy
progress
Quest,
here,
Galaxy Quest was the better movie.
it was. And also, before we progress here, Staff or the fucking Federation or Starfleet logo everywhere.
Merchandising. Where's the real money made from the movie? In merchandising. Yogurt wasn't wrong.
No. Who knew his shit?
Now, through this, we are introduced to the new iteration of Chekhov, and yes, we are beyond all manners of racism and bigotry, and let's make our Russian ops officer speak with such a thick Russian accent that even the computer can't fucking recognize what he's saying.
Which makes me wonder, why doesn't he just fucking speak Russian and let the universe translate to deal with it?
But then we wouldn't get the funny moment of the computer not recognizing what he's saying. That's another thing is, I think they tried way too hard at some moments to get bits of comedy in here. Like, coming up. As the announcement's going over the ship, it brings Kirk up after everything, and we start getting the side effects for the sake of comedic value. Just his hands swell up to that point, and then they are literally running around the ship to try to find and talk to Uhura, and he's given another injection to treat the swelling that ends up giving him numb tongue.
Numb tongue? I got numb tongue.
And where the fuck is she sitting?
In radio.
Yeah.
Right next to those big fucking tanks.
That are obviously not a dressed up beer brewery. I don't know what you're talking about.
I have a hypothesis. They had to have it in a brewery so the fucking crew could actually stand up and make the fucking movie regardless of reading the script.
So they were paid in beer.
Well,
Damn it,
maybe not
Burns.
paid in beer, but it helps for getting all the shit going on.
Hold on, Jared. I need to share my screen for a second. Burns just sent me this.
All right. Go for it.
Mm.
Nice.
Ironically, though, that would be so much better.
I think it would be better if it was the mech suits from Avatar, the blue alien kind.
As long as it isn't Terminator Marines.
Come on. There we go. Now we're back. God damn you, rodent. That seems like one that Leon should read out.
Do you mean the force comedy is terrible comedy? Get it? Force and yogurt? Okay, I'll be in the corner shutting up now. That one?
Yes. Getting back to the attempted story, we cut to this wonderful view of the Narada dangling something that is
Giggity.
drilling into the planet
Giggity.
repeatedly. And we follow... I keep wanting to refer to her as the character she played from Beetlejuice.
Lydia?
Lydia Dietz.
What
My, how you've grown up and relocated to a desert planet.
Well, she got to get away from those sandworms.
Yeah. But we get that, and then we get more running. Because why not? So after the conversation with Uhura, Kirk has the final piece of the puzzle to confirm his suspicion because of the whole lightning storm in space. And has a conversation, well, forces a conversation onto both Pike and Spock, while mocking Spock at some points during it, to present the entire information and recommendation that they're not going there for a natural disaster event. There's an attack going on. And super specialist witness, Uhura, there to confirm that the information concerning the Klingon transmission is accurate because I did it myself. Aren't you proud of me? Yes, I am. Go ahead and take over this person's position. So now, of the original crew that they're trying to model this after, Uhura's finally in her spot. Sulu's in his spot. Chekhov is in his spot. At this moment, Spock is in his spot as the science officer and first officer. But Kirk's not, and there's someone else missing. But we get the confirmation of no communications. They drop out of warp, and holy shit, it's a debris field. Mind you, Pike ordered shields up before they dropped out of warp. And we get these wonderful evasions through the debris field, but see how close they are to that? Now, mind you, the shields were told to be up. So why the hell is that taking tiles off of the top of the nacelle?
I had a point about that one too. With the proximity and the debris at and around Vulcan. From what we've seen before, when they drop out of warp, unless there's something fucking going on, they're usually several kilometers away from the nearest thing. Because, smacking into something at really fucking high velocities is not necessarily good for you. And here they have the debris from what, 2, 3 ships, right where they're landing.
Oh no, there were 7 ships ahead of them. They're the 8th ship in the Armada.
Yeah, but if you look at the actual debris field itself.
Oh yeah, that's obviously debris from 2, maybe 3 ships right in front of them, with that piece right there being a large chunk of the primary hull of one of them.
Yeah, which that alone is almost unheard of. Unless there's something really fucking going on, or if you happen to be in a movie that starts with Star, but ends with wars, and someone's just blown up a planet.
Well, J.J. Abrams did admit to doing this movie for the sole purpose of proving he can do it, so that he would then get the reins of the Star Wars franchise.
And how dare fucking Lord did he drop the ball on that one.
It's almost like his production company doesn't know how to handle existing franchises. And they are horrendously bad at rebooting them.
Yeah.
But now, the new Enterprise clears out of the debris field only to be attacked. Shocking. And more bright lights. And after that first salvo, Nero looks and is like, wait! This movie needs to be over now. I'm leaving. No, we could only wish. He wants a visual confirmation of what ship that is and sees that it's the Enterprise and remembers, oh yeah, there's a Spock from this time that I can fuck with. And so they hail the Enterprise. And good on the writing for this exchange only. Instead of being formal, prim and proper, like a typical Starfleet captain or starship captain would be, it's a mining ship. It's a blue-collar working ship. So instead of going with titles, names and names, Nero refers to Pike just simply as Christopher. First name only. That was just a little something that is like, okay, I'm trying hard to find some good in this movie, and that is the level that I have to go to. Hello, Christopher. I'm Nero.
I wonder, though, with this, are the Romulans in his universe the same kind of paranoid fucking assholes that there are in the Prime Timeline universe? Because in the Prime Timeline universe, essentially everything you see with Romulans, they are paranoid, suspicious. They don't really trust anyone else, and they sure as fuck don't trust their own.
They were... Okay, so in that bit, up to this point, we were only dealing with the military arm, the Imperial Navy, and Tal Shiar. We weren't dealing with your average everyday Romulan until you get to reunification in TNG, where you actually start to see a regular citizenry, and they're not as blatantly paranoid. They're not as deep down the conspiratorial rabbit hole. This is a ship of fucking miners, blue-collar workers. So that's where I say, I like that touch.
What, that they're all tatted out?
No, there's actually a nice in-universe explanation for that one, too. Which, I can go either way with. But I'm talking about the mentality of how when the communications come over and the Enterprise responds to the hail, Pike does the typical proper captainly Starfleet introduction. I'm Captain Christopher Pike of the Federation Starship Enterprise. What are you doing here? Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero. Just that difference in mentality, in communication styles there, I really enjoyed. Granted, I think part of it is delirium and me wanting to find something to like in this movie that hard.
Oh, you'll actually get to something that you do like in, what is it? An hour, 10 minutes after this?
Yeah, probably.
When the movie's actually over?
Yeah. Anyways, moving on, unless either of you have something to add to this.
Go on.
So, Pike is given the same demand as the previous Starfleet captain from 20-something years ago. And they all walk off, and we get the wonderful view of a transparent window that is the actual view screen.
Yeah, I don't like that part of it at all.
Actually, I like it when the view. I like it when they actually have the view screen or the transmission coming across on the view screen because it still allows you to see what's going on out there,
Yeah,
albeit blocked a little bit.
yeah, and
I can understand why people wouldn't, but I like it better.
yeah, but this is something where I definitely put Discovery in this same timeline or an offshoot of this timeline, because here you have... Oh, I agree with you on that, but I'm saying for continuity's sake and where this actually slots in and where Discovery slots in, they are offshoots of an offshoot timeline. And this is one of the things that I point to justify that. Because even if you look back in TOS, there were windows on the ships. Not many, but there were windows, but never the bridge. The only place that the bridge had a window was the Enterprise D and the dome at the top. Throughout this, Nero had also told his minion to go prepare the red matter because exposition. We're gonna use all the walking space we have, where Pike puts Spock in command as captain with Kirk as the first officer, but Kirk and Sulu are doing the side mission along with someone else they meet up along the way. Spock gets back up to the bridge, calls down to sickbay to find out what's going on and the status. The actual chief medical officer is dead, so responsibility falls to Bones. Hey! Bones is in the position he's supposed to be now. Don't you see what we're doing, guys? At way too fast of a pace to be realistic and have any actual character growth.
By the way, it was Engineer Olson.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten to that. I know it was Olson. Because we get into the... I was trying to capture the actual transition of them getting prepped and out. But yeah, fucking Captain Gohard, Engineer Olson, was so amped up. Like, even a United States Marine would tell him, dude, calm down, you're gonna get us killed. And the sad part is, throughout this entire fall... Okay, so, remember what they said when they got there? That external communications were cut off because of that thing right there?
And they can still talk to one another over the fucking radio.
The entire way down. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could see maybe like a local transmission there, but if you spiked up the power enough, but
like between these three, maybe
plausibility's there. But
yeah, but between them and
the ship,
yeah, no.
Here's a question though: how fucking far down is the platform?
It's actually in the atmosphere, so
the platform itself is in the atmosphere, a couple kilometers up, but the ship, the Narada, is significant. Actually,
I think the first time they mentioned it, it's like 28,000 or 28,000 meters.
Because that's not just 30 kilometers up.
No. It's a long fucking way down.
Yeah. Which, not going too much into the physics of it, etc., but they don't have enough cargo space to actually carry the fucking chain for the platform on their own ship in that case.
Replicator.
TARDIS.
Even then, all that way in that case.
Because look, they're starting out here with the view of the backdrop of space, and then they get into the atmosphere, and then
are so far down into the atmosphere that they can breathe without using the fucking vent or respirators.
Yep.
And there's people on the platform for whatever the fucking reason.
Yeah, and this is where they realized, oh, Olsen had the charges, and motherfucker got himself caught in that beam because he tried to be a hot dog and do a really low opening.
You have to admit, though, the idea of jumping from outer space into the atmosphere like that would be a fun skydive.
Oh, it would.
Unless you get incinerated on the way down.
The idea would be fun. The practical application of it is where it gets tricky. But
You'll have lots of natural lens flares that way, though.
True. And so they deploy whatever the fuck that thing is to go into the hole that they just bored out. And they realize, oh shit, they're opening a singularity in the core of the planet.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow. And so now that the beam is off, they can transport, they can communicate. So they're trying to bring Sulu and Kirk back, but then they start raising the platform so it jostles them, and dumbasses standing that close to the edge still get knocked off, and Kirk goes after Sulu and loses his chute. And Super Ruski has to run down to transporter control to do his thing to get the lock to actually bring them back aboard. And right as they come down, Spock's like, get off the fucking platform, I need to go. Because rather than send a menial to go down and rescue the council and everything from the Catricarch, he's doing it himself.
Because why not? It's not like he's a captain and shouldn't be going on away missions that are dangerous.
Yeah, about that. One of the things that I want to give this movie credit for, the visual effect of the transporter. I liked it.
I'm just surprised they didn't try to add even more fucking lens flares to that.
I think that's why I liked it, is because it gave them enough light that they realized, okay, no, we're not going to do the lens flares this time. And in trying to capture what was going on in the visuals of the temple that they were in, the closest I could get was this statue after it had crushed one of the people he was trying to save. But it was just a no-named council member, so who cares? I care about my mama.
My own mother!
Who is standing so close to the ledge that
Why are they so spread out, though?
Because plot of her falling and dying and messing with Spock, the mama's boy. Now,
And then Vulcan got a new anus.
that just grew and grew. Now, keep this in mind. Vulcan essentially got imploded. And following this, Spock is shaken up. Understandably so. He's affected. And this is where the person to go after him to console him is Uhura, and we find out they've had a thing. She went for an instructor.
At least it wasn't an A-school marriage.
No, it was the equivalent of boot camp. And hooking up with an RDC from another division. Which thankfully they get away from that whole thing and go back over. See, they jump between scenes so dramatically. It's annoying. But that we get the interrogation of Pike and Nero wanting to know what Earth's defenses are set up like and access codes so he can avoid them. And Pike isn't going to tell him willingly. And we get the exposition finally of what happened, of what caused all this. And Pike is trying to rightfully point out Romulus is not destroyed. But because of time travel, Nero watched it. It fucking happened. And hey, you know that thing that we did in Star Trek II that was really nifty, form of mind control, that let Khan get a ship and then manipulate people to do his bidding? Yeah, we're going to do it, except we're going to put it in your mouth.
Better in the mouth than in the ear.
Way worse places.
What was that, Jay?
Better in the mouth than in the ear.
Well, when it's that size.
I still see the ear being better than many other things.
Oh, yes, I would agree with you on that.
Now we cut back to the ship where they're trying to figure out what's going on, and Spock has to tell Kirk, out of the chair. It's my spot. It's my spot for Spock.
Spot.
And they're trying with the competing issues. Spock wants to go by the book way. Kirk wants to be more cowboy in his decisions, which is rather fitting to everything, but it's to the point where Spock pretty much tries to charge him with mutiny and has him kicked off the ship. Kirk tries to fight because fuck authority, and Spock, he did the thing. He did the thing. He did the Vulcan neck pinch. Yeah, I don't care. At this point, I am so over the fan service. Fuck you. I'm sure you got that in your notes somewhere there, Leon.
It isn't too far off. Especially with the whole... Well, regarding these scenes here, spoken of horror, Romulan design, the fucking focus, timeline confusion, and poor Vulcan logic when it comes to possible and impossible.
Yeah. You gotta know logic and philosophy if you're gonna write characters that try to rely on logic and philosophy. But we end up getting a nice view of what Kirk awakes to. Being in a pod somewhere. Oh, it's Delta Vega. Might as well be called Hoth. With animal life that is running him down. Which then gets eaten because there's always a bigger fish.
And he's got a knapsack.
Yeah, well, and here's something with the timing. Okay. How long was the warp trip from Earth to Vulcan supposed to take? They said 3 minutes. Give or take. That was the arrival time given before Chekhov did his announcement. All of this is supposed to have happened in those 3 minutes plus their time there.
Yeah.
And Nero left on a trajectory straight towards Earth.
But Nero was going at warp 4. Because obviously foreshadowing him, Chekhov talks about it later on. If Nero is still going at warp 4,
But when Kirk's here, he's told, "Oh, there's an outpost settlement this far in this direction." That he's going by foot over this kind of terrain while being chased by these creatures that chase him into a cave, which just so happens to be the same cave that this guy is hiding out in.
The Schwartz is strong with this one.
And more wasted time with exposition. Then we get the full background thanks to a mind meld, which, yes, is a good way to get a lot of exposition across in a less than terrible manner.
Oh, we're going to discuss, though, that by their own rules, Spock essentially raped him there.
Really blurred the line. Really?
He didn't say no, because he couldn't.
Really blurred the... Well, didn't really... No, Kirk did ask him, what are you doing? Oh, it's a mind meld. It's the easiest... It's the quickest way to do it.
Yeah, if someone says...
Spock wasn't lying.
But if someone says, okay, I'm going to do Dirty Sanchez on you, and you don't know what it is, it's a bit too late afterwards to say, oh shit, no, I didn't want that.
Yeah. But it gave us the opportunity to see the situation that they're set up for, where the star went supernova. It threatened Romulus. Vulcan Science Academy built this ship. Fastest ship in the known galaxy. To deliver this massive sphere of red matter that was supposed to help prevent the destruction of Romulus. They failed. They were late. But, alright. In all of that, I didn't get the screenshot again, so let's go back to... Where is it? Where is it? Here. Out of that entire massive sphere of red matter, you want to know how much you need? That. One solitary drop. To contain a fucking supernova.
And time travel.
But this is something where I'm not sure what it is actually that they're trying to do here. Because, okay, building a ship takes time. Even if you have something like the station from Enterprise, it takes time. You don't just replicate the entire ship all at once. You can see them working with this shit here. If they knew that this shit was going to go supernova, why not grab this, put it on a just slightly slower ship, and fly it there to begin with? Why build the new fucking ship to begin with?
This is some deep hole that I'm not getting out again.
No, but this is the same thing as saying, okay, we need to get these organs from this hospital here to the other one across the country. We're just going to wait for them to finish building the car that will go 10 kilometers faster than the one we already have. And that's going to take 3 weeks. So you're going to just have to wait a little bit. Why not just fucking send the thing they already had and save that time?
Because that would be the logical thing to do.
They're Vulcans. They should go for the logical thing.
But Geordi helped build this, so I mean, they had to let him do his thing.
They're Vulcans, written by fucking Alex Kurtzman. Which means they're not really Vulcans.
And it's a supernova. Supernova, as far as I remember, can cover something up to, what is it? 300 light years.
Yeah, I was going to
Ish.
say, it's a number of parsecs.
Yeah, because just something like, oh yeah, we're going to save your planet from this supernova. A supernova isn't even so much as a to whom it may concern. It's a, okay, you gone.
It's a poof, bye-bye. But with that, we get the explanation how on one side the Narada was pulled in, on the other side Spock was pulled in. Narada came back and encountered the Kelvin, and it was 25 years later that Spock arrived. So Kirk is 25 years old at this point.
But they still don't explain the wormhole or the time travel bullshit there.
Correct. They don't. Just like they throw this scene in here, but don't explain where it comes from. A deleted scene that was the Klingon that references back to that transmission that Uhura intercepted and translated was a Romulan ship attacking a Klingon prison. It was because his ship was rescuing this motherfucker from the Klingon prison, which is where he ended up finding about this little bastard. So yeah, a number of these things that are where the fuck did that come from moments are explained in other scenes that didn't make it into the movie. So then we get this and Spock pointing out that I was stranded here by Nero on his way to Vulcan. Now, mind you, they're on Delta Vega, a couple of star systems away. And that is how big and bright Vulcan looks like when it's being destroyed?
Apparently.
Are you fucking kidding me? But then we get confirmation the Enterprise is going towards the Laurentian system to meet up with the rest of Starfleet. And now Spock and Kirk are walking in. Hey, there's that station that they're finally getting to. And they get inside and they meet this little guy. No clue who or what he is, and then we end up meeting this guy.
He looks like a miniature Riemann.
He does kind of. Well, a little extreme. But, yeah, I see where you're coming from. And that's where we find out this is Montgomery Scott. And we get a wonderful reference to Admiral Archer's prized beagle.
Poor fuzz.
We'll let you know when it comes back.
And it doesn't arrive until next Tuesday.
And using all of that prior existing knowledge and kind of messing with the timeline that's already been really messed with, Spock, well, Prime Spock, uses the refined transwarp beaming calculations that Scott, in the actual Prime timeline, Scotty finished all on his own, applies the changes and uses the transporters on that shuttlecraft to beam both of them onto the Enterprise traveling at warp. And have to say, 50-50 on this one isn't bad. Kirk is right. Kirk is right there, but where's Scotty? Oh shit, he's in the water system.
Well, like I said, we gotta have a wet Scotsman somehow.
Which...
Go for it.
This is something where, looking at this here now, this breaks the rest of the stuff in the movie when it comes to all the fucking pipes, etc. With the fucking see-through parts. Nowhere else where they showed this in the movie with all the pipes, etc. do you have see-through? Is she just here for the sake of this scene? And it's so blatantly fucking obvious.
Because, especially with the conveniently man-sized emergency valve opening right there. Now, mind you, the internal sensors don't pick up the transportation, don't pick up the transporter materialization. It picks up Kirk accessing the control panel.
Do we want to go into Starfleet, security measures, etc., now again? With there not being a big fucking red in case of emergencies button.
Yeah, I mean, when you have someone like this cupcake in security, kind of makes sense on why they have so many issues. And rather than take them directly to security, instead of taking them to the brig, where do they take these to? Oh yeah, let's take them to the bridge.
He's dyslexic. Don't judge him.
Well, I mean, that's why he's got the nickname Cupcake and all, you know.
And I have to say, throughout this exchange, I do like how Simon Pegg played Scotty, just trying to be, hey, I just got dragged along. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm not in the middle of this. See, there are little moments in this movie that actually are good. If only they could do the rest of it. Oh, we're almost... there is so little actual plot points here, we're almost done. Because throughout all of this, the thing that Spock really told Kirk to do is, you need to get me to expose that I'm emotionally compromised. So, Kirk plays the bully card and actually gets lens-flared Spock to start kicking his ass and choking him. Because that would totally be the only thing that would happen in that instance. And then he would totally just relinquish command, knowing that the person that I just kicked off of the ship who came back and was trying to fuck with me is the one who's going to take over. Yeah. Something tells me the writers didn't think this through.
What are the controls on the left side there?
It looks like a secondary helm control.
Manual control.
Because it's either that or just barcode scanners.
Oh, those are definitely just barcode scanners dressed up. Or are you talking over here?
Yes.
That could be tactical. But Kirk takes command. Now, Kirk is where he belongs. But Spock's not there. But so they start having a powwow, what to do, how to do. And they hatch a plan to get aboard the ship by warping into the system in close proximity of Titan to hide their approach. Which would then take how long to get from Titan to Earth to actually do something? Ah, that doesn't matter. We can go at the speed of plot.
It's not like they'll actually be seen approaching if they're still gonna approach the fucking ship.
Yes, pointed out Icarus, and yeah, that's you wished. We got some questions for you, Bubba, but that's the show after this. So Kirk and Spock get transported over to the ship to rescue Captain Pike, and do what they can to stop everything, and we get firefights everywhere, firefights all over. Oh, look, we're gonna start drilling the earth because giggity.
And right by Starfleet Command. And all these other cadets that weren't brought along for reasons.
Yeah, about that. Why try to make any sense of the bad writing? Oh yeah, because pretty colors and look, fancy new ship that Spock is finally starting to realize, hey, there might be some time travel fuckery going on here because the ship is responding to my voice commands as if it already knows me. Lens flare. So as Spock 2.2 is going off with the new ship to try to stop everything, Kirk's going around to try to find Pike, and oh, look at that, I'm getting my ass kicked again. You know what? I seem to think that Kirk has a thing for breath play with how often he gets choked in just this movie alone and seems to kind of enjoy it.
He just enjoys the prospect of them doing it too long so he doesn't have to suffer it anymore.
But finally doing something that makes sense, Spock uses the super advanced Vulcan ship from the future to take out the tether. Wow, why didn't they do that the first time? Oh yeah, plot. Nero's pissed off, decides to chase after, and look, more lens flares. And throughout the fight that's going on where everyone's trying to kick Kirk's ass, and, well, the punching bag just keeps taking it and taking it and taking it. He almost missed a jump. The Romulan going after him made the jump. And here again, we have Kirk being choked. But he passed his resolve test so he could say, I got your gun. And then shoot the fucker so he falls. While he gets dropped and almost falls again himself. Almost like you should have made him back up a little bit first there,
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Do we want to bring up, though, this is a mining ship. These people are miners. They've been at this for a long fucking time. Where's the fucking guardrails?
You expect health and safety to apply to the future?
At least when it comes to Romulans, the fucking Vulcans have no logic. The Romulans tend to have at least some kind of self-preservation going on.
They were going for the rule of cool.
I mean, hell, they're all tatted up. I mean, what are safety rails?
Which, speaking of that, they were in mourning for the loss of the Romulan people. That's why they did the tattoos, which is a kind of cool little wrinkle to the culture to add in. But didn't
they have those before the Romulan people were fucked over, though?
No. This was actually established in the written material prior to the movie release. They did not have the tattoos, but we only see them ever after Romulus has been destroyed. So we see the tattoos on them. Yes. Because if you're going back towards... Let's get back to the mind meld. This was not... this took place in the past after Nero and the Narada had come back in time. So this is after, in his perception of time, after Romulus had been destroyed.
Because this is where I'm seeing issues. As far as I see it here, They get sent back in time at the very moment that what do I call it? At the very moment that Romulus gets fucked over, that Romulus gets destroyed by the supernova. Am I inaccurate in that?
There, a little bit. So the Narada was not in the Romulus system when Romulus was destroyed, but he was on his way there.
So how did he stop the supernova going on there?
He didn't stop it, that's the thing.
So he managed to get close enough to it.
Spock intercepted it elsewhere. They were not in the Romulus system when it happened. Romulus had already been destroyed by the time Spock got there.
How fucking slow is this supernova?
As slow as it needs to be.
I've talked to people way faster than that. That one's slow as shit.
Yes.
Because when you look at it, they have the tattoos coming through the wormhole thing.
Yeah, when they show up with the Kelvin, yes.
And at that point in time, Spock was just too slow to save Romulus, as far as I understood it.
By Spock's recollection of it.
Which in that case, just too slow, meaning an hour, 2 weeks, a year. Long enough time to when he actually gets to stop it, they've already all tatted up.
Which could be hours to a few days minimum.
Hours at least after they get the news of it happening.
Yep.
This makes no fucking sense.
Exactly.
Took you this long to get there?
No, but no matter how you fucking try to look at this, no matter how you try to see this shit here, it just makes no sense whatsoever.
Again, you're trying to apply logic to a problem that's the equivalent of uni.
Yeah, and here we have head on everything being fired in. What do you know? Hey, it's the Enterprise popping in last minute, firing to get rid of the weapons, giving Spock time to set a collision course and be transported off just in time to survive.
3 people off of 2 targets onto 1 pad.
And because that ship was destroyed and that massive fucking amount of red matter's there, it starts coalescing and doing its thing, and bright flash, hey, new distortion right in the middle of the ship. To which classic Kirk shows up, and I'm going to offer an olive branch. I will help save you. To which Spock is like, are you sure? It's like, hey, here's where the human is more logical than the Vulcan. By offering the peace, despite everything that's going on, by offering the bit of help, the Romulan Empire won't hold it against us, and there could still be a somewhat peace maintained.
And this is Spock's response.
Bullshit!
The exact response was to the question of, isn't that the logical thing to do? Yes, but not this time. And Nero was like, no, fuck you. He really pulled a Jason. And which Kirk was like, fine, we'll oblige. Give him everything. But here's the question. Why? Was it necessary, knowing what that material had done to a planet, did you really need to expend the ordnance to do that? Or should you have just said, all right, bye, and left?
But what does it do to a planet?
Well, Jared, you got to understand, he didn't want them to suffer, and he also had to have a reason to do an action coming up.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. It's opening up about amidships, and the forward part of the Narada is just... the only word that comes to mind is hentai. It is the hentai ship.
It's the mast.
Tentacles everywhere. So the bulk where the crew actually is on this backside of the anomaly. What fucking good is it going to do to shoot up the tentacle side?
Reasons.
But why isn't the ship already collapsing in on itself like the planet was?
That too.
Because as far as I know, this ship is slightly smaller than the planet was. Now, I'm no expert, but I think that's the way it goes. And he used one fucking drop of this red matter to suck up an entire supernova. Now, unless there's some kind of fucking, I don't know, homeopathic bullshit going on here, more red matter should mean more big baboom and just sucking everything in.
Yep. And
That plot hole.
Doesn't arrive till Tuesday.
And while the Enterprise is there, not feeling any effects of this thing, and you see they're fucked, leave now, and then you won't have to deal with, oh shit, now we're getting fucked up. To the point that they have to jettison the warp core in the hopes that the explosion will push them away far enough that they can then escape on impulse.
And you mean warp cores? There are multiple there.
There were core segments, but it is seen as one core. But yes, well, technically, when you eject the warp core, you don't just eject the reaction body. You actually eject the antimatter storage pods too. When you actually look at what actual Star Trek has established.
But this brings up a weird little other issue, though.
Like how the
Where
fuck did
the
they survive?
where the fuck is the engineering section? Because this is what 1/3 up the strut between the body and the hangar shit.
Yeah.
And we've seen the size of the stuff going on there. It don't fit.
Agreed.
TARDIS.
It
I would say that, and then just put an RE in the front of it.
yeah.
I
They're
could agree with that.
They're trying to steal the Gallifreyan tech without giving the name to it. But so it manages to work because it always works, and then they end up back at Earth and oh look, old Spock and new Spock get to meet.
Oh my god, it's Burke.
Oh my god, it's your bullshit. Okay, so you remember how I was all up in your ass about you cheating before, bitch? Here, have a medal.
Oh, and let me give you a ship too while I'm at it.
Oh, and not just any medal. Don't just have any medal. I'm going to give you the super medal, and give you the ship that you had just been responsible for fucking up and causing damage. But hey, you got it back, and we can repair it. So hey, you know what? You broke it. You bought it. That motherfucker is yours now. Lens flare.
And you know what that scene with the Pike in the wheelchair there looks like? It looks like the funeral for Lennon. All the gray coats with the red coats.
Ah, yes. But throughout all of that, who's lurking up above? Old Spock. More lens flares. As now everyone is in the spot that they belong in the most convoluted way possible. Kirk is the captain. Scotty is a chief engineer. And look, even Spock came back. Yay.
And then, as a final kick in the nuts, a throwback outro music.
You know, there was something that they actually had said about it that was actually an intentional design choice, which I agree with. They did not want to play the original theme song until the end because they wanted to earn it. To which I say, why the fuck did you ever play it in the first place then? Like, I understand the sentiment. I understand them wanting to not just immediately assume and not just throw it in at the beginning. They wanted to build up to it. They wanted to reestablish things and then go forward from there and actually build what they are going towards. You tried to do way too much for the amount of time that you should have been on screen and ended up doing way too little and caused more problems than you really needed to for yourself. Oh, holy fuck.
Well, if you think this is bad, within the next month, we're going to have to watch the other one too.
You mean Wrath of Khan 2.0?
Mm.
You know, Icarus, you do have a good thought. Now let's pretend this movie didn't have a sequel.
At least for 1 week, we will.
Or two.
I mean, I can go on about, Masters of the Universe next week and the week after if you want.
That might
I'll
actually
want
be
a new one.
Yeah, the new one.
No, why don't we do a review of the old one?
I happen to have the entire series on DVD.
No, don't you want to see Tom Paris in his prime?
Oh, you can go fuck yourself.
What? What is wrong with that movie? What is wrong with that version?
I will say this. If you had to pin me down and make me watch Masters of the Universe, the movie, or the Netflix series, I'm going to go with the movie 10 out of 10 times. Oh, God. What did you send me now? I'm afraid.
Be very afraid.
Oh, God.
Well.
Nope. Not opening it up. I refuse.
Wait, where did you...
Oh, he sent it in Kanar with Damar.
There's the list. Oh, yeah, the fucking seatbelts. Hey, how do you think I watched it a few weeks ago? Yes, I am admitting right now, live on air, just a few weeks ago, because I felt like it, I watched the 1987 movie Masters of the Universe.
I mean, if we get the choice, we either watch the next movie in the Star Trek franchise here, or we watch the second movie in the Princess of the Universe franchise.
Oh, that... Ooh. Oh. Do we let the channel members vote for that one?
Do you trust them?
They did vote to watch paint dry.
Oh, no. That wasn't just the channel members. That was a public vote. I'm saying that the people who are the paying channel members of this entire YouTube thing, do we give them the power to vote for which movie we review next between those two?
It can't be worse than some of the other stuff.
That's what I'm saying. I think we give them the power. We give them the opportunity. And this way, it's something new. It's something different that they will get to have a direct input on. Today was entirely because Anamorphic Mind wanted it, and you know what? We haven't tortured ourselves enough with a topic like this. So it was time. But since that discussion has come up between bad 80s movies that really don't fit in with the rest of their work, let's give them the opportunity of, do we go with the French accented Scotsman or 80s techno at its finest? We'll give them the entire week to vote, both on the Discord server, and keep an eye out for a community post to go live here before the end of the weekend. So if you want to vote on which torture technique we're going to imbibe on next week, become a channel member today, and you'll be able to see that and everything else that's been posted for the channel members to enjoy that only they have access to. But now it's time for a break. It's time to get something to eat. And then, oh boy, are we going to have fun with the rest of the night. Oh, god damn. You know what, Furball? Click the fucking link and get your ass in here. Yes, Anamorphic Mind, you're right. He is right on time. And I think he planned it this way. The bastard.